Hello, my name is Carr-Gomm. I live in the south of England, just near the sea, about an hour or so south of London. And Yuri has invited me to talk a little with you. So I'm delighted to be here. I'd like to congratulate Yuri and this channel on having 50,000 subscribers, which is wonderful, and I think it shows the degree of interest in spiritual subjects that exists all over the world, and clearly in Brazil too. So I wish I could speak Portuguese, but I'm afraid I don't. I think we've come to a very, very interesting time in the story of humanity. On the one hand, we have the extraordinary challenges that we face with climate change, with the risks to the environment, with the crazy political situation we find ourselves in, with the extinction of species all over the world. So a very sad, difficult time, but also an extraordinary time too, because more and more of us around the world are waking up to the innate powers of our soul, our abilities to really be of use and value in this world. And I think that's perhaps one of the shifts that is happening, that in the past the spiritual quest was often very much concerned with our own self-development, with seeking enlightenment, with seeking illumination. And of course that goal still exists, but now I think we're equally concerned with the fate of humanity, the state of the planet as well. So these two goals of seeking illumination and of being of use in the world have of course always existed, and it's a question of getting them in right balance. And so let's focus on the question of seeking illumination. My experience has been that if I see this goal as one of seeking enlightenment, then it always places the goal a little out of reach in the future for me. I might have moments of illumination, moments of clarity, or even perhaps awakening, but then I drop down into everyday life again. Perhaps a little bit changed, a little bit a more complete person perhaps, but basically the same. And so, while it's a good idea to have enlightenment or illumination as a goal, if that's your only spiritual goal, then you will fall into the trap, almost inevitably, of provisional living. Provisional living is the kind of living that is dependent on something happening in the future. So to give you an example, if you find yourself or catch yourself saying, my life will really be great, it'll really be fantastic, when I've got the job, when I've got the car, when I've got the wife or the husband, or moved to another country, or when I've got rid of the wife or husband, or got rid of the job, then my life will start to be okay. It's a very familiar pattern that we can all find ourselves in. But it stops us fully living in the present with all our capacities. So, and if we tell ourselves that we will really find fulfillment, we will really be who we were always meant to be when we gain enlightenment, then by definition we're setting it in the future. We haven't already got that. How do you solve this problem? How do you solve the need for motivation toward working towards a goal, which we all need, but at the same time settling into a comfortable sense of being here and now and being connected with everything you need? Well, my suggestion is that we also have as a goal for ourselves the idea of growing in wisdom. So my spiritual goal is to grow in wisdom. As soon as I take that goal on board, it feels less driven, less stressed than seeking enlightenment. I already hopefully have some wisdom, as we all do, and therefore if I'm growing in wisdom, the goal is here somehow. It's here in the heart, in the center of my being. I'm growing, I'm maturing, I'm developing. It's not out there. It also solves another problem, which is if your sole goal is seeking enlightenment, then some beings will be enlightened, you won't be, so they will be superior to you, and you will feel inferior to them. So they will be what's called in psychology top dog, and you'll be bottom dog, like that. But when it's a question of growing in wisdom, I think we all recognize that we all have wisdom inside us. The body has its own innate wisdom. And so we have wisdom, and in different proportions, and we have foolishness as well in each of us, and so on. So it removes this judgmentalism in the whole process. So I hope you found that idea helpful. I very much liked listening to Yuri talking about how he has been searching for illumination and exploring many spiritual teachings over the years. That's exactly what I've been doing ever since I was the age of 11, and I read a biography of the Buddha, the life of the Buddha, and I decided that the search for enlightenment was the most important thing. And at the same time I met my first spiritual teacher, who was the old chief druid, Ross Nichols. He wrote these 2 volumes here on the history and practice of magic. And when I was 16, I started studying with him. So I studied the Western system of Druidism, which is of course connected to the ancient landscape here in the British Isles of stone circles and dolmens and ley lines. But at the same time, I was fascinated by the mysteries of the East. So the spiritual teachings of the East and West have always fascinated me. And I've been leading a Druid group called the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids that has many members around the world, and we publish trainings in many languages, including Portuguese. But the kind of Druidry that we espouse is universalist, and this idea of seeking the universal truths in all religions. We don't really need these labels anymore, I don't think, for many of us anyway, of Druid or Christian or Buddhist or whatever. I think many of us are seeking the essence that is in all religions and how we can work with that essence in our own lives to be better people and to be of more use to the world. So thank you for letting me speak with you and spend time with you, and many congratulations to this web channel. Okay, thank you.